This video delves into the lives and tragic ends of 15 African presidents who met their fate in the most dangerous ways, offering a window into the complex web of African political history. Number 1. Patrice Lumumba, Democratic Republic of the Congo. Patrice Emery Lumumba, born on July 2, 1925 in Onalua, Belgian Congo, rose to prominence as a nationalist leader, dedicated to securing independence for his homeland. As a fervent advocate for Pan-Africanism and Congolese nationalism, Lumumba envisioned a united Congo free from colonial shackles, where its vast natural resources would benefit its people rather than foreign powers. In June 1960, Lumumba's vision bore fruit as the Democratic Republic of the Congo achieved its independence from Belgium. He was appointed the country's first prime minister and immediately faced a series of formidable challenges. The young nation's abrupt transition from colonial rule meant that it lacked an experienced administrative apparatus. Moreover, regional secessionist movements, particularly the one led by Moise Tshombe in the mineral-rich province of Katanga, further exacerbated the fragile political situation. Lumumba's leadership style, marked by his assertiveness and refusal to be subordinate to Western interests, inevitably ruffled feathers. The Cold War landscape of the era also meant that superpowers like the United States and the Soviet Union were keenly interested in the direction the newly independent Congo would take. Lumumba's perceived leanings towards the Soviet bloc heightened Western anxieties. By September 1960, with the Congo in political turmoil and Lumumba's government facing opposition from multiple fronts, President Joseph Kasavubu dismissed him. However, Lumumba contested the dismissal, resulting in a power struggle. This culminated in his arrest in December by forces loyal to Joseph Mobutu, who had staged a coup with the backing of Western governments and corporate interests. Lumumba's end came tragically on January 17, 1961. He was executed by a firing squad in Katanga, a death orchestrated by Belgian officers and secessionist leaders, with tacit approval from the United States Central Intelligence Agency. The murder of Lumumba, a leader with vast potential and vision for a united and prosperous Congo, remains one of Africa's most poignant political assassinations. His legacy continues to inspire movements for justice, sovereignty, and dignity across the continent and beyond. Number 2. Sylvanus Olympio, Togo. Sylvanus Olympio, born on September 6, 1902 in Lome, which was then part of the German colony of Togoland, stands as a monumental figure in Togo's journey to independence. An educated man with a vision for a prosperous and autonomous Togo, Olympio pursued his studies in London and then worked for a while in the United States. On returning to Togo, he was determined to free his homeland from the yoke of colonial rule. Olympio's leadership skills quickly propelled him to the forefront of Togo's independence movement. With his dynamic approach and articulate oratory, he successfully rallied masses in support of ending the French colonial rule. His efforts bore fruit when Togo gained independence in 1960, and he became the nation's first president. However, the dawn of independence brought its set of challenges. As president, Olympio faced the Herculean task of unifying a country fragmented by colonial legacies and building a robust economy from the ground up. His approach to nation-building, which leaned towards centralized control, led to the marginalization of certain segments of the Togolese military, especially those who had served in the French colonial army. By early 1963, rumblings of discontent had grown louder. Economic struggles, coupled with dissent from marginalized military factions, created an environment ripe for upheaval. And on January 13, 1963, these tensions reached their tragic climax. In the early hours, as a military coup unfolded, Olympio tried to seek refuge in the United States Embassy but was denied entry. He was subsequently captured and assassinated outside the embassy, becoming the first African head of state to be overthrown in a coup. The assassination of Sylvanus Olympio was a momentous event in African politics. It set a precedent for military interventions in African states, a trend that would unfortunately recur across the continent in the years to come. Today, Olympio is remembered not just for his tragic end, but for his unwavering dedication to Togo's independence and his vision of a prosperous and unified nation. Number 3. Ngarta Tombal Baye, Chad. Ngarta Tombal Baye, born on June 15, 1918, in the southern region of Chad, emerged as a beacon of hope and change for a nation desiring to shake off the chains of colonial domination. Educated initially in missionary schools, Tombal Baye later trained as a teacher, thereby grounding himself in an understanding of grassroots issues and the immense transformative potential of education. When Chad started its journey towards independence from France, Tombal Baye's leadership qualities rapidly propelled him into the limelight. He became an influential figure in the Chadian Progressive Party, PPT, which played a pivotal role in steering the country towards sovereignty. With Chad achieving independence in 1960, Tombal Baye was appointed its first president, a testament to his perceived capability and popularity. Tombal Baye's presidency, however, was not without challenges. While his intent to modernize and unite Chad was evident, his methods were often seen as authoritarian. He suppressed opposition, curtailed freedoms, and at times resorted to traditional practices, like the initiation rites of the Yondo, to foster unity and loyalty. Such tactics, combined with a perceived favoritism towards the Christian South over the Muslim North, sowed seeds of discontent. By the early 1970s, Chad was a cauldron of unrest. Rebel factions, particularly from the northern regions, began actively opposing Tombalbaye's rule. The president's response was a mix of forceful suppression and efforts at appeasement, including changing his Christian name, Francois, to the African name Ngarta. However, the measures did little to stabilize the situation. On April 13, 1975, the mounting tensions culminated in a coup orchestrated by the Chadian military. Tombalbaye was arrested and, in a swift and brutal turn of events, executed. His assassination marked the end of his 15-year rule, a period that witnessed Chad's transformation from a colony to an independent nation grappling with the challenges of unity and identity. Tombalbaye's legacy remains complex. While his authoritarianism and divisive policies are criticized, he is also remembered as a leader who sought to build a modern, independent Chad, even if his methods were contentious. Number 4. Marion Ngouabi, Republic of the Congo. Marion Ngouabi, born on December 31, 1938, in Owondo, Republic of the Congo, stands out as one of Africa's youngest and most charismatic leaders. His early years in the military set the tone for his future leadership, exposing him to discipline, strategy, and the intricacies of power dynamics. An ardent Marxist, Ngouabi passionately believed in socialist principles as the path to true liberation and progress for post-colonial African nations. Ascending to power amidst a backdrop of political instability and multiple coups, Ngouabi took the reins of the Republic of the Congo in 1969. Under his leadership, the nation was renamed the People's Republic of the Congo, reflecting his socialist leanings. He established a single-party state under the Congolese Labor Party, PCT, and introduced socialist reforms aimed at nationalizing key sectors of the economy and decentralizing power. Ngouabi's rule, however, was fraught with challenges. The very forces that brought him to power, particularly the military, proved to be a double-edged sword. While he sought to diminish tribalism and promote national unity, his efforts often met with resistance. The nation's oil wealth, rather than being a boon, became a bone of contention, with various factions vying for control. Perhaps the most significant threat to Ngouabi's leadership came from internal opposition and repeated assassination attempts. Recognizing the challenges of ruling a post-colonial nation with diverse interests and legacies of mistrust, Ngouabi attempted to consolidate his power, which often meant suppressing dissent. His life, marked by rapid ascents and persistent threats, met a tragic end on March 18, 1977. Marion Ngouabi was assassinated in Brazzaville, marking the culmination of the tumultuous politics of his era. The circumstances of his death remain shrouded in mystery, with multiple theories pointing to both internal and external orchestrations. In the annals of African leadership, Marion Ngouabi's tenure is emblematic of the challenges young leaders faced in post-colonial Africa. The balancing act between ideology and pragmatism, the quest for national unity, and the constant navigation of internal and external threats. Number 5. Amilcar Cabral, Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. Amilcar Cabral, born on September 12, 1924, in Bafata, Portuguese Guinea, now Guinea-Bissau, remains an indomitable figure in the African liberation movement. A brilliant agronomist by training, Cabral's true calling was ignited by the burning desire to see his people free from the shackles of colonialism. While working on agricultural projects in the colonies, Cabral witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of colonial policies on the local populace. These observations fomented a revolutionary spirit within him, leading him to conclude that armed struggle was the only viable path to genuine independence. In 1956, he co-founded the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, PAGC, setting the stage for a relentless fight against Portuguese colonial rule. Cabral's strategy was multi-pronged. While he recognized the necessity of armed confrontation, he was equally invested in political education. He believed that the true liberation of his people necessitated not just freedom from colonial rule, but also mental emancipation from colonial ideologies. This duality of purpose, waging a guerrilla war while also investing in grassroots political education, became a hallmark of PIGC's liberation strategy. Under Cabral's leadership, PIGC made significant inroads, capturing large swaths of territory from the Portuguese and setting up local governance structures. The success of the movement drew international attention, and Cabral's eloquence made him a revered figure in global anti-imperialist circles. Number 6. Samora Machel, Mozambique. Samora Moises. Machel, born on September 29, 1933, in the village of Chilambane, Gaza Province, Mozambique, stands as an emblematic figure in the fight against Portuguese colonialism. Growing up in a world marked by deep-seated racial inequalities and colonial exploitation, Machel's trajectory from a nurse to the first president of Mozambique was nothing short of remarkable. Machel's journey into revolutionary politics was precipitated by his involvement in health services, where the stark disparities between the colonizers and the colonized were blatantly evident. Realizing that only a systematic overhaul could bring true justice to his people, he joined the Mozambique Liberation Front, Frelimo, in 1962. Displaying innate leadership skills and a deep commitment to the cause, Machel quickly rose through the ranks to become the leader of Frelimo in 1970. Under his leadership, Frelimo adopted a strategy that blended guerrilla warfare with political outreach. Machel was profoundly aware of the need to unite the diverse ethnic groups of Mozambique under the banner of national identity. His efforts bore fruit when, after a decade of persistent struggle, Mozambique gained independence from Portugal in 1975, with Machel as its first president. As president, Machel embarked on an ambitious journey to reshape Mozambique. He introduced socialist policies, nationalized industries, and made significant strides in education and healthcare. However, his tenure was riddled with challenges, including economic struggles and the protracted civil war fueled by external forces opposing his socialist stance. Number 7. Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso. Thomas Isidore Noel Sankara, born on December 21, 1949, in Yako, Burkina Faso, often dubbed the Che Guevara of Africa, was an epitome of revolutionary zeal and transformative leadership. A young officer in the Burkinabe military, Sankara's intellectual fervor and commitment to justice set him apart from his peers, positioning him as a beacon of hope for a nation yearning for change. Sankara's ascent to power in 1983 through a military coup was emblematic of his radical approach to governance. Almost immediately, he embarked on a whirlwind of reforms aimed at uprooting the entrenched systems of exploitation and neo-colonialism. Renaming the country from the colonial, Upper Volta, to Burkina Faso, the land of upright men, was symbolic of his broader agenda to instill pride and self-sufficiency in his people. Under Sankara's leadership, Burkina Faso witnessed unparalleled initiatives. From massive vaccination campaigns and infrastructure projects to groundbreaking land redistribution and women's rights initiatives, the nation experienced a renaissance. Sankara's vision was crystal clear: a self-reliant, dignified Burkina Faso free from the clutches of foreign aid and dependency. However, his radical reforms, while popular among the masses, ruffled the feathers of many within the elite corridors of power. His anti-imperialist stance and criticism of the international financial system also earned him detractors beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Number 8. Melchior Ndadaye, Burundi. Melchior Ndadaye, born in 1953, assumed a paramount role in Burundi's political landscape when he became the nation's first democratically elected president in 1993. A member of the Hutu ethnic majority, his rise was particularly symbolic in a country historically dominated by the Tutsi minority. This was a milestone in Burundian politics, as Ndadaye's election marked the first peaceful transition of power since the nation gained independence from Belgium in 1962. Educated as a banker, Ndadaye emerged from a modest background, marking a contrast from the elites that had dominated the nation's politics. As president, he championed an inclusive agenda, aiming to bridge the historic divides that had plagued the country. Among his endeavors were efforts to integrate the Hutu majority into key roles in the military and administration, roles they had been largely excluded from in the past. However, his tenure was tragically short-lived. Just a few months after his election in October 1993, Melchior Ndadaye was assassinated during a coup led by Tutsi-dominated factions of the military. The coup failed to hold power, but succeeded in taking Ndadaye's life. His death plunged Burundi into chaos, sparking off an ethnically charged civil war that lasted over a decade, causing the deaths of hundreds of thousands. Number 9. Cyprien Ntaryamira, Burundi. The tale of Cyprien Ntaryamira, Burundi's second democratically elected president, is inextricably linked to the volatile political climate of the 1990s. Ntaryamira, like his predecessor Melchior Ndadaye, hailed from the Hutu ethnic majority. Born in 1955, he was destined to tread a path eerily similar to Ndadaye, becoming a symbol of the hopes and the tragedies of Burundi during this tumultuous period. Ntaryamira's entry into the political arena was defined by his dedication to unity and reconciliation. He was deeply involved in the establishment of the ruling Front for Democracy in Burundi, Frodebu Party, and was a strong advocate for the inclusion of the Hutu majority in all spheres of governance, challenging the long-standing Tutsi domination. In 1993, when Ndadaye was tragically assassinated, Burundi was already spiraling into chaos and ethnic strife. It was against this backdrop that Ntaryamira was selected as his successor in February 1994. However, fate had a tragic twist in store. Barely 2 months into his presidency, on April 6, 1994, Ntariamira, along with Rwandan President Juvenal Habyarimana, was killed when their aircraft was shot down near Kigali, the capital of Rwanda. This tragic incident not only deepened Burundi's crisis, but also played a pivotal role in triggering the horrifying Rwandan genocide, wherein approximately 800,000 people lost their lives in just 100 days. Number 10. Juvenal Habyarimana, Rwanda. In the annals of Rwanda's history, few figures loom as large as Juvenal Habyarimana, the nation's longest-serving president. Born in 1937, Habyarimana, a member of the Hutu majority, ascended to power in 1973 following a military coup. His presidency, which spanned over 2 decades, was characterized by a blend of stability and authoritarianism. Under Habyarimana's regime, Rwanda saw economic development, supported in part by coffee exports and foreign aid. His early years in power were marked by the promotion of the Hutu power ideology, further marginalizing the Tutsi minority. He also established a single-party system under the banner of the National Revolutionary Movement for Development, NRMD, effectively suppressing political opposition. However, as the years wore on, external pressures and internal dynamics necessitated political reforms. By the early 1990s, Habyarimana was under international pressure to democratize. In 1991, a new constitution was introduced, permitting multi-party politics. Yet the transition was far from smooth. The Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, a Tutsi-led rebel group, posed a significant threat, leading to sporadic conflicts and increasing tensions between the Hutu and Tutsi communities.